Alright, so you want to quit sugar, and you wonder if there's a way to lose weight without actually quitting sugar because you're that addicted to it. Now, I was in the same position. I was trying to lose weight without actually cutting out my sugar. But here's what you have to do. Now, I used 3 methods to actually lose a lot of my weight. I went from 250 pounds down to 155. So I'm Amon. I help people with mental and physical health reframes to help them achieve their goals. Now, the first part of this 3-part method is building up your willpower. So trying to actually cut sugar and quit sugar is literally all just about building up your willpower to the point where you can actually say no to all these foods that you love. So there's a couple of strategies. One strategy, which is to actually have like a chocolate bar or like a granola bar or something of that sort just sitting on your desk whenever you do work, right? Keep it there on the side. So when you actually inevitably eat it, because the goal is not to not eat it, to resist it for as long as possible. And then when you eat it, you actually try to figure out, like write it down on paper. Why did I eat it? What did I feel like what feelings that I have that actually made me want to eat it? What was my brain telling me when I actually decided to make the decision to eat it? And why did I go against my goals, right? Talk about everything in that little like document that you write down. Try to understand the reason why that you actually do it, right? And obviously you're going to be eating like the chocolate bar or whatever just a couple of times, right? But getting this data on why you actually decided to go against your goals is a lot better than actually just trying to completely cut it out and not have the data and just trying to like quit sugar just blindly. Another part of building up your willpower is your identity. So for an example, there's 2 people, right? So the kind of guy who says, I'm going to try to quit smoking, right? That's the kind of guy who never quit smoking. The kind of guy who's just been smoking his whole life, but then eventually decides, I'm not a smoker anymore. That kind of person is actually a lot more likely to completely quit that addiction. We can take the same approach here to quitting sugar. So you're not trying to quit sugar, you've already quit it. So here's an example like from earlier today. So I went to my friend's house, right? And he offered me some donuts.
Back at it again at Krispy Kreme.
Now, if it was like 2 years ago, I would have taken it. I would have felt like fat right after, just like why did I actually eat it? I'm trying to lose weight. And obviously it wouldn't be a good thing. All of my friends ate it. He had like 12 pack of donuts for everyone, right? All my friends ate it. He ate it, right? He still had a bunch of donuts left, but I decided to not eat one, even after he asked like 2 or 3 times. Now why? That's just because I don't eat sugar. It's not like who I am. I haven't eaten sugar in a long time. Last time was at a birthday. The time before that was on my birthday. The time before that was a year before on another friend's birthday. So in total, I eat sugar maybe like 3 to 4 times per year, and whenever I do, I just indulge a lot. All the ice cream, all the chocolate, all of that, right? Now obviously it's gonna feel weird at the start. Maybe you're an obese man, right? Maybe you're an obese man who has eaten sugar for a long period of time, maybe like majority of your life, and then it'll suddenly start looking weird to all the people around you when you decide to say, no thank you, I've quit sugar. Obviously it's going to be a little bit weird, but over time people are going to start to realize that you're actually making progress, and they'll start to respect you a little bit more and respect like the fact that you've completely quit sugar, right? Even my friends, like he wasn't trying to like get me off track and trying to get me fat by saying, okay, hey, you should have a donut, right? It was simply in his mind. He decided that that would be a good thing, like that would be a respectful thing to actually ask me, right, if I wanted. So there's Alex Hormozi, right? He says do what's required, not your best. So the fact is that you right now might not be able to actually achieve your goals, right? Maybe you haven't been eating properly for like many years. What his point is that you need to do what's required to actually get you to the point where you can do it, right? So identity plays a lot into that. These willpower like games, strategies, like what I described before, that can help you a lot. Because doing what's required to actually, get towards your goals is a better goal to have other than, trying your best, because your best might not be enough to actually get towards your goals. Sometimes what's required is way below what you're doing, right? Maybe you have a talent for math and you can completely get like a 95 without studying, right? And maybe doing what's required to get a 90 is, doing even less than what you normally can do. But then let's say you've been obese for your whole life and you've had the worst habits possible when it comes to keeping yourself healthy and having a good diet. Then what's required of you to actually lose the weight is a lot higher than where you are right now. So let's say you're here, this is your skill level. What's required to help you lose weight is going to be up here. So you're going to have to change yourself to actually become that. So the second part is progressive overload. So you don't reverse years of bad habits immediately. You don't just go into the gym as a complete beginner and bench 250 pounds. And the ego, your ego, and the people around you telling like, hey, you can do whatever you want. You can achieve whatever you want right now. It's actually a little bit more malicious. It's not actually going to be helping you, to be honest. So you basically define success as what other people think of you. And obviously that's kind of like an end goal if you do want that. But when it comes to actually getting started, it's not at all necessary, and it's going to be pretty bad. It's not going to be a good thing at all. So an example, like hitting a 2-hour workout, cold showering right after, and then doing like a full day's worth of work, that's going to be maybe something that other people would see you as successful for if you decided to improve your life. But will you actually do that if you've been sitting on TikTok scrolling for hours per day? No, so you need to progressively overload. Start with a bar and work your way up. The way I would do this with diet is adding more foods into your diet that are good. So like apples, bananas, proper grains like rice and oatmeal, right? In some cases that might make you bloated. And if you're trying to lose weight and you look more bloated than you were before, it's not going to help you. So maybe you'll have to find another source of carbs. Maybe you might have to go a lot more harder on protein. So like maybe eat a lot of meat. And then also like a slight misconception, fat does not actually make you very fat. So don't really care about the fat. The main thing you need to care about is the sugar content in things, which is obviously what this video is about, to help you quit sugar. But then once you actually have a little bit more good food in your diet, you have to understand what the food is actually doing to you, right? So again, rice might make you bloated. Maybe you work a lot better with oatmeal. So start to realize what good food actually makes you feel better, right? And then slowly start to phase out that bad food. So progressive overload, right? If you ate a whole chocolate bar normally, eat half next time. Next time, eat maybe one piece. Next time, just don't eat anything at all if you can. And maybe if you're like super dissatisfied with your look right now and you feel like super motivated and you know that you can completely cut all of this out because maybe you've done this before, you have confidence in yourself, then obviously skip to the end point if you can. Then yeah, just do that. But like most cases, most people, they aren't able to actually do that. They don't have that confidence in them. They have that like fake confidence, that motivation, but that's not actually going to help them, stay consistent with that diet and try to help them quit sugar. So you can obviously just try it, right? If you can skip all of that work, just skip it. But if you end up failing, then that's kind of expected. So just come back to the point where you can just do a little bit, every day. That progressive overload approach. So another way that habits are built and broken is cue, craving, response, reward. It's from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. Every good and bad habit has a couple of parts to it. So let's look at a bad habit, for example, and how you might be able to stop it. So cue, you're bored and you feel hungry, right? You just finished like a little bit of a work task, right? You're a little bit bored, you go on your phone scrolling, whatever, obviously, but like you feel a little bit hungry, you're bored, right? Then you get a craving and you remember there's some chocolate in the kitchen over there. So you go ahead and you walk over to the kitchen, and that's a response. You go ahead and eat that chocolate. So you go ahead and feel better, right? It's stimulating. Your mind feels a little bit better after you eat that, right? It tastes good and you really don't really feel as hungry as you did before. But then if we look at the second order consequences, right? So one, you feel good, right? But then the second order consequence, you start to gain weight. Third order consequence, once you actually gain that weight, then you start to feel bad. You look like, oh, I have so much blubber on my skin, like my stomach, right? I don't really feel good. I don't look good, right? And then you feel like you fell off, and that's when you decide to go into this habit again of like trying to cut out sugar, and then let's say you fall back into it, and then you're gonna go down a cycle where you're going up into your self-improvement journey, right? And you fall right back down. So you don't want to have that actually happen. You want to cut these habits off at the cue part if possible, but the best part to actually get rid of these habits is to put barriers at the cue, barriers at the craving, the response, and the reward. So cue, if you change your identity, it works wonders, right? That's what I did. I started saying like, I don't eat sugar, I don't eat junk food when I was fat and obese. Obviously, it was kind of like a little bit of a weird thing to my family, to my friends, like, you're obese, why are you quitting sugar? You're not that kind of guy. You look at your stomach, right? But over time, I stopped eating, sugar, stopped eating this junk food, and slowly and surely, this is what I've become, right? So if you change your identity and you do things like meditation and journaling all the time, then you're gonna get to the point where you'll think twice before having that cue. Also, maybe before you actually have that craving, you'll think a little bit more. But maybe you get a cue every time you actually take a break from work, you start scrolling, you feel bored, you feel hungry. One way you can actually combat that is change the way that you take that break, right? This is an example. Change the way that you actually, try to find a different route around the way where you actually normally get that cue. If you always drive by this certain like spot on the way to work and you kind of feel hungry or something and you end up like going to like a fast food spot and you're just having junk food, then try to drive a different way, right? Maybe it takes a little bit longer, you spend a little bit more on fuel, but I think that's worth it, especially if you can get towards your goals. And you said you wanted to lose weight, you said you want to quit sugar, right? So that like extra like 10 cents per drive, it's probably worth it if you can quit sugar and you can look a lot better in your body, and and it'll probably make itself up over the time. Again, start thinking about the second order consequence, right? So first order consequence, you spend a little bit more on gas, but in second order consequence, you end up eating more junk food, so then you're spending more on that, but then you don't look at that third order consequence or that second order consequence. So all you really care about is that first order, and you end up ruining your life or ruining your goals because of that first order consequence. So that's another thing. Just think about the consequences later on. So then craving, right? Maybe don't bring money for lunch, or don't bring a lunch at all. Don't bring snacks. And in that case, you can't really eat at all. If you can't eat or you don't have access to buy whatever junk food you want, then you're not gonna have it, right? That's a barrier between the craving and actually getting that chocolate or whatever, you know. Then for response, right? Tell all the people around you, I've quit sugar. I don't eat chocolate anymore, right? So it's gonna be a lot harder to actually eat a chocolate bar or anything like that around other people when you've told them, hey, I've quit sugar. So obviously in that case, don't try to like sneakily eat like, you know, a chocolate bar in the bathroom or like outside. Like just obviously don't do that like BS, right? You've said that you want to quit sugar. Now tell the people and show the people around you that you are. And then reward. So here's one way that I combated it, right? So every time you have a bad habit, right? Let's say eating sugar or chocolate, combine that with a good habit. You know, try to even it out so you don't actually fall down a rabbit hole. So I used to do a whole workout every single time I wanted to eat sugar or, you know, have ice cream or something like that. So every time I had ice cream, I would decide to actually do a full-on workout. And obviously it wasn't like a gigantic workout with weights and everything like that. It was maybe like 30 minutes of it's like, you know, push-ups, squats, you know, lateral raises, just like small amounts of things here and there. But then slowly I just phased out, you know, the ice cream, and I ended up just working out for the fun of it. So if you're gonna do a bad habit, at least pair it with a good one so you get some sort of benefit from that. That way you're not actually going down and you're just kind of staying in the middle, right? So you have a bad habit, right? And you pair it with a good habit so you're back at the middle point. Instead of just having the bad habit, and then one time you decide to have a good habit, and you know you started off here but then you're up here, right? So let's look at this with like a normal habit, something that probably everyone here does. So a cue, it's nighttime, you look at the clock, you're getting ready to sleep, right? So what do? You craving. So it's not a traditional craving, but like you know that you're gonna have to actually brush your teeth before you go to bed because you've done it for your whole life. And then response, you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, and then reward, you get a little bit whiter teeth. Your teeth aren't like, there's nothing like in between your teeth annoying you. You actually get to, you know, you finish that nighttime routine and you get to go to sleep. So if you like this video and like the little tips that I have here for you, I have a video on how to actually lose that loose skin. So after you've quit sugar, lost that weight, you're probably gonna have loose skin, just like I do right now. But I basically laid out the plan that I'm gonna take to actually lose that loose skin. So it'll be somewhere on screen here and in the description. So watch that video and remember, this is what hard feels like.